You are constantly comparing, whether it's in business, lifestyle, self-improvement, health, wealth, relationships, religion, whatever it is, you're constantly in the state of comparing. Now, I used to be like this. I used to always worry about what my competitors were doing, what was happening in the marketplace. I was always worried about what he was doing, what she was doing. And eventually, I really had to cut that off. And I have a few things written down here. But one thing that really helped me out, and I have 3 things I'm going to be telling you guys, as well as a solution at the very end. So stick to it. But you need to hear these things first. That everybody has a path and everybody's goals are completely different, but they might be on the same track. So what I mean by this is that you don't want to be copy and paste. Somebody might have the same goal of hitting a specific number in their business, getting into a specific college if that's, what you strive for, or hitting a certain goal, whether it's with fitness, like I said, wealth, health, relationship, religion, whatever it is. A lot of people, what I figured out, have the same goals: 10K a month, 50K a month, 100K a month in their business. But at the end of the day, a lot of them don't feel fulfilled because they're not completed. But what you have to understand is that everybody's journey is different. So yes, the end goal might be the same. The end goal of hitting this X amount of number every single month might be the same, but the process, the mechanism, the way you go about doing it is going to be completely different from the person to the left of you and from the person to the right of you. So if you don't understand that, if you don't understand that everybody's process looks a little bit different, like my route in business will look a lot different than somebody who makes 10K a month, faster than me or even longer than me. Doesn't really matter. And there's so many different things you have to realize that the reason why your goals are just not being met is because it's all an illusion. It's all a perception. And it goes down to the greedy man is never happy because it's like he has this thing, but then he always looks at the next person in the, the highest tower. And you have to understand that being okay in the present is the best possible thing you can do. And that leads me into point number 2, which says right here, you're not behind. It's not your time yet. So you're not behind. It's just not your time yet. So what does this mean? This means that everything has a due process. Everything has a due time. Every single thing that goes on in your life has a correct time, implementation, a system, a place, whatever you want to call it. Everything in your life happens for a purpose, and everything that goes on is supposed to happen when it's supposed to go on. And I'm a huge believer in that. And I'm a huge believer in not just being not being some lifeless being, that just goes throughout life and it's just whatever happens tomorrow happens, no, not like that. But I'm talking about the fact of setting those goals, having those intentions, working towards them every single day, and then letting the rest kind of fall into place is huge. I've had broad outlines for the next 6 to 12 months in my life, just specifically talking business, talking self-improvement, and they didn't go the way I wanted them to. For instance, when I was reading a bunch of books back last year, I had a goal of reading over 50 books in 52 weeks, and I accomplished it. But I want to let you know that over the course of those 12 months, one month I would read 8 books. The next month I would read 1. I wasn't that consistent, but my goal became true. It became reality because I just stuck with it. And what you have to understand is that the progression is never going to look like this. It's never going to be a steadying. It's always going to look like this. You're going to have ups, you're going to have downs, you're going to have ups, you're going to have downs. And so one month, I remember, I think for June and July, I didn't read any books. And then in August, I was like, oh my gosh, I have a goal here. And I cranked them up again. I got back in the zone. I focused myself. I had the discipline to sit back down in my room and say, no, I'm doing this. I set myself a goal for this. I'm going to do it. And so I think in August, I read 12 books. And so that right there alone is just you have a path. You have where you want to be. Just not everything is going to be laid out because that's just not how it goes. You just don't have everything laid out, and that's okay. And so the solution to this, how do you stop comparing yourself? Well, I'm always comparing myself. I'm always thinking about what she's doing. I'm always thinking about what he's doing. I'm always stuck in my head as far as that goes. What can I do to get away from it? How can I fix this? And the best thing I can tell you is to be present in the moment and remind yourself constantly when you get those thoughts about, fear of missing out, FOMO, constant comparison, jealousy, envy. It's mainly FOMO. The solution to this is just remaining in the present. It's telling yourself that everything is happening right now. It's happening for a reason. It's happening in my life. It's okay. Everything's going to be okay. But you also have to reinforce yourself with positive emotions and positive actions. So when you tell yourself that, don't just be like, everything's okay, everything's okay, everything's okay. And like, that's not going to work, because you're going to be like shaking back and forth, telling yourself everything's okay, but you're not going to feel it. So when you do those things, take deep breaths and work towards it. So yes, you may have had a bet going on of who can hit like $5,000 a month, which is really weird. $10,000 a month, whatever it is. When you have those things, understand that everybody's on their own different wavelength. Everybody's on their own different path. And so that is something that I had to truly understand. So you're always going to be miserable comparing yourself to everybody else. But how about, you take a look at where you were at 6 or 12 months ago, and I promise you, there is a huge increase, especially if you've been on either your self-improvement journey, your self-development journey, your business journey, whatever it is. There's a huge difference. I guarantee you, you just have to look at it from a broader scale. And so the biggest, if we're going to compare ourselves to anybody, it should be to ourselves, who we were a few months ago. And so understand that it's okay. Don't compare yourself to other people. Everybody's on their own track. Everybody has a completely different, set of processes on how they're going to get there. You don't want to be copy and paste with everybody, because then nobody would be special. Nobody would be unique. Nobody's story would be a testimonial, and nobody's story would be exhilarating. When these guys get on stages, we just hear the same thing over and over again. You're not behind. It's just not your time yet. Everything will happen in due time if you set a clear intention and you have a goal that you work towards every single day. I'm a huge believer in that. And remaining present is going to be the solution to killing FOMO, and understanding that everything in your life plays out as it should.